Good morning, and thank you for dropping by to play some guitar with me today here on the couch. Boy, do we have a good one for you today. Classic Van Halen from 1984, both the album and the year. The album was released in January of 1984. I went to the record store the day it dropped to buy a copy. I was the first of my friends to have the album, and everyone wanted to know what it was like. The hit song Jump had been pre-released as a single in late 1983, and die-hard Van Halen fans were not very excited about the song's pop radio sound. I remember telling friends that it was different from previous albums, but that there were songs that stood out to me as classic Van Halen fare, with Panama being the main one. In June of that year, just 1 week before my 17th birthday, Panama was released as a single, and it immediately found its way into constant rotation on both MTV and every rock radio station on the dial. For my friends and I, Panama became the soundtrack for the summer of 1984. In November that year, Guitar for the Practicing Musician published tablature for the song, and it became one of the very first songs that I learned to play beginning to end. We'll talk more about that in a little while, but for now, let's jump right in with that powerful guitar intro. The first thing that we want to do is tune our guitar down a half step. If you don't do that, you're not going to sound like the song, and you're not going to sound like what you're hearing me play, because I'm tuned down so I sound like the song. And there is quite a bit of difference when you're playing chords, just with one fret or a half steps difference. So everything is tuned down a half step. So your sixth string, instead of an E, is going to be an E flat, or if you're using a tuner, it might read a D sharp instead of an E flat. The next one's going to be an A flat or a G sharp. We've got a D flat or a C sharp. We've got a G flat or an F sharp, B flat or an A sharp, and then again an E flat or a D sharp. So our first chord that we're going to use is an E major chord rooted on the fifth string. So it's a bar chord here. I'm barring the 7th fret, strings 5 through 1 with my index finger. Ring finger is barring strings 4 through 1. Because it's an E chord, I can also play this open E string. So I'm going to play strings 6 through 2 at most. I don't want to play string 1 to get that first chord. The next chord that we're going to use is going to be an E sus. So it's that same position, but I'm going to take my pinky and I'm going to put it on the 10th fret of the B string, or the 2nd string. That's the next chord. The next chord is going to be still barring the 7th, but my middle finger is going to go to the 3rd string or the G string at the 8th fret. On the 9th fret of the A string, my ring finger goes, and that's an E major 7 chord. Between each chord, there is also, I'm going to be chugging or playing this bass note on the A string. And between most of the chord changes, you're going to hit that twice. There's one spot where we hit it once, and I'll come back and show you that after we do it. Right there at the end as I came back. So there's only one between those last two chords. Then we move everything down here and it becomes a D sus, a D major, and a D major 7. So it's the E, two chugs, the E sus, 2 chugs, the E7, after you play the end here at the D, If you have a whammy bar, you would want to do a big dive on there. I do not, so I let it ring out a little bit and then I slide it down to kind of simulate that. You're going to play that whole cycle 2 times. The second time, instead of a whammy bar dive, there's a pick slide. After you slide that, you're going to go to a C major chord, or C sharp major chord, rooted on the 5th string. If you listen to the record, he kind of plays it twice, so you can do like a quick up and then a down. And then he's going to chug a little bit on this A string right here at the 4th fret. That part I'm borrowing from 4 through 1 at the 4th fret. I'm playing it once, and then with my middle finger I'm playing the 5th fret of, or I'm sorry, the 5th fret of the B string. I play it once and then pull off. After I do that, I'm going to play it again at the 4th fret, and I'm going to slide it to the 2nd fret and play it twice once we get there. Then we have this. So if you can get all your fingers back here, it's at the 2nd fret of the A string, so it's a B note, and we're going to bend it up as we play it, but we also are going to do an artificial or a pinch harmonic. So if you don't know what that is, you hold the pick like very tightly, and there's very little pick showing. There's much more finger available than pick. And as soon as I picked the string, I'm going to let it bounce off the pad of my thumb. And it gives it kind of that bell or that whining sound instead of, there's the regular note. There it is with the harmonic. And he plays it and then waits a little bit and bends it. And then gives it a little vibrato. So if you have the finger strength to do it with your first finger, that's fine too. It's just harder to do that. So then we go here. So we're playing a C sharp minor chord is what that is. So I'm borrowing from 5 through 1 on the 4th fret, and then I'm making an A minor shape with my middle finger being on the 5th fret of the B string, and my ring and pinky being on the D and G strings at the 6th fret. So it's like an A minor shape if we were playing an A minor chord right there, but because it's up here, we've got A minor, 2 more frets, you would have a B minor, C minor, and then a C sharp minor is what that is. And again, he plays it like twice. Now we lift off just our middle finger, keep the other fingers there. And what I'm doing is I'm playing the B, the G, and the D string. Play the B again. Then I put that finger back down on the 5th fret of the B. Another thing you could do is you could play it like this. You could just use your bar. So it's not quite as efficient that way. The right way to do it is with this finger. And then we're going to do this number again. Just like we did before, but this time instead of the artificial harmonics bend on the B note, we're going to go. So we play the A string open 3 times, and then on the 4th time you hit it, you're going to go to this B note. You could also, if you wanted to, do the B power chord. Either way sounds good. The power chord probably sounds a little bit thicker. And then we have. Now, this section, while it's very well known, it's very memorable, everybody's heard that in the song, it changes every time he plays it. The first time he plays it, and you'll see some people play it like this too. It's the same notes. I play it this way because it's easier to get the artificial harmonics going, which he does through part of it. So it's 5, 4 on the B string, and then 4, 4 on the G string. After the third time, he starts getting their harmonics going. So this is natural harmonics instead of artificial or pinch harmonics. So natural, so I'm holding right over the top of the fret on the B string. And this is really the part that changes every time he plays it, because the first time through, he does something like this. So that's the E string right over the top of the 5th fret, and then the 4th fret over the B and the G. So there's a little bit of a pattern to it there if you listen to the record. If you don't get that part exactly right, I don't think anybody that's listening to it is going to notice or say anything about it. So I just play it 3 times, and then I do what I can with the harmonics after that. Then it goes into the main verse of the song. So we got a little chugging going again between chord changes, but it starts out with an E chord, an E power chord. So you can play the open E note there if you want to. You don't have to every time, but I'm also playing the A and the D string at the 2nd fret. That's kind of an E minor chord actually, if you played the rest of the strings. An E major chord would be this, but for our sake, we don't need the entire chord, just a portion of it. Next one is an A, and then part of a D. So the A, the E, my finger is on the 2nd fret of the A string for the, for the E. For the A chord, my finger is on the 2nd fret of the D string and also the G string. And then for the D chord, I'm just playing part of a D chord like a D sus. So my middle finger is on the 3rd fret of the B, my index finger is on the 2nd fret of the G. Back to the A. The D again, but I play it once with the middle finger, once without, so that's just barring the 2nd fret of the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string. So if you want to use your index finger for this or a ring finger for this, however you can best incorporate this slide. I found for myself, I usually use my ring finger and my middle finger. I put them on the 5th fret, I play it and slide up to 7, and then I come back to 5 and play it again. I've seen people who just do it this way, just slide both ways and leave it. I think it sounds more like the song like that. And then we're going to go back and start the pattern over. An alternative to that he does sometimes, and I think later in the song, probably on the album, I just recently saw a video of Wolfgang, Eddie's son, playing Panama, and when he did the first time through, he did this alternative. But it's everything's the same up to there, but he reaches over and grabs this G note on the E string, bends it down and up, almost like this, so similar. So that's definitely a little bit easier, but throughout most of the song he's doing this. He does that 4 times, and then we go to so I'm adding in just those E notes there to keep the timing in between. So that is open on the A and the D strings, and then the 2nd fret on both those strings. Play a couple E notes, and then we go up here and we play the B and the G strings open, and then we play them at the 2nd fret, and then I use my middle finger on the 3rd fret, so I'm going back to that D sus. That's the just barring 2 on the 2nd and 3rd strings. Put your middle finger back on for the D sus, and then back to this kind of E minor. So we're going to get through this part 4 times. After the 4th time, when we do the, we go into the, when we get back there, so the 2nd time we've done that. So that's like kind of 4 things total, 2 times through the rotation. When we get there, we're going to play this F sharp major bar chord rooted on the 6th string, but instead of making it a bar chord, we're going to lift our hand up a little bit. So my index finger is on the 2nd fret on the F sharp. My middle finger is going to be on the, I'm making an E shape, so my middle finger is on the 3rd fret of the G string. My ring and my pinky are on the 4th fret of the A string and the D string. But instead of playing the whole bar chord, I'm going to lift those fingers a little bit. I'm going to get my hand away from the neck so that the B and the E strings are open and they ring out. And then I'm going to play. So I strum the chord. I kind of rake it a little bit slowly so those notes really ring out. And then I'm going to play 1, 2, 3. And then 2, 3, 4 twice. And I'm going to go up here to a C sharp chord, but it's going to be a C sharp minor because I've got my middle finger there, making an A minor type shape. And the same thing, I'm going to lift my hand up so that this E and this E are able to ring out, although I'm really only going to play from strings 5 down. But this is going to be your bar on the 4th fret. It's really only pushing on the 4th fret of the A string, and then you're making that A minor shape below with your middle finger on the B string at 5, and your pinky and your ring fingers on the 6th fret of the D and G string. And again, you let this E ring out. You can play the other E too. It doesn't sound bad. Now I'm just going to play 2, 3, 4, and 5, which kind of bleeds in there. After that, we go to this. There's a pick slide actually, and that part is where David's singing. David Lee Roth is singing. Don't you know she's coming home to me? You'll lose her in the turn. And when he's doing the "you lose her in the turn," we go to the pick slide, and then we go into this. So that's just, I'm playing the 5th fret of the A string, and then I go to the 6th string, the E string, and I play 6/5, and then some vibrato, and then I do the same thing at the 3rd fret, 3 on the 5th string, and then 4, 3 on the 6th, and then I go to the 2nd fret of the 6th, and then open, and then the 2nd fret of the A string, or I can do this chord right here, the B chord. And then I'm right back into the main verse. Same thing, I go through that 4 times. I get back to the... And I go back to this chord. That F sharp chord, but it's not actually a bar chord. Back to the C sharp minor. Same thing. And then back into the verse again. This time, after the verse, we're going to go into the solo. So we start our solo coming out of the chorus riff. We're going to do that 4 times like normal, but we're going to start it a 5th time, but it's going to be real truncated. That's all we're going to play of it, and then we're going to play. So that is like a C add 9 chord without the ring finger. That's my index finger on the 2nd fret of the D, my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the A. Just play those 2 strings. That's our first note. Second is just the 2nd fret of the A string. Then open on A. And then a C power chord. So my index finger is on the 3rd fret of the A string. Ring finger is on the 5th fret of the D. That takes us into the solo. So we're going to bend up the 9th fret, and we're barring the 7th fret of the 9th fret on the G is what we're bending. We're barring the E and the B strings at the 7th, and we're going to play it twice. Do that 2 times. 3rd time, we're going to bend it up. We're only going to play the B at the 7th. So that is a bend up, write it back down, pull off, bend up again. And then we go to 7 on the G, we bend it up and down. If you have a tremolo, a whammy bar, as you bend up that 7th fret of the G, you're going to hit it. I don't have one, so I kind of try to do this a little bit more radically to simulate it, to make it sound a little bit unnatural. That takes us into our next lick, which is going to be like this, although faster. So that is 9th fret on the G, 7th fret on the B, but after we play it, we're going to use our pinky to hammer on and pull off the 10th fret. We do that twice. The 3rd time, after we play the lick, we're going to hit the 7th fret of the E, and then coming back down, we're just going to do a pull off from 10 to 7 on the B, back to 9 on the G, go through that little pattern 2 times, and then you can do a pull off from 10 to 9 to 7 on the G, and then 9, 10 on the G, 7 on the B, back to 7 on the G, bend it up, and as you come back down, pull it off to open. As that open G is ringing out, we're going to take our ring finger and we're going to hammer onto it and bend it up. As we're bending up, take your index finger from your other hand and you're going to tap on the 14, 12, 14, 16, 14, and 12 of the G while it's being bent. Have to be careful that you don't hit these other strings. I try to mute them with the pads of my fingers that's bending the string and with my thumb that's wrapped over the top. If you hit them, it just sounds real messy. It's hard not to get a little bit of noise from those strings coming into that. After you bend it back down, you go to the 7th fret again, and another little whammy bar bend, type bend on it. Next, we have a little pinch harmonics here on the 7th fret as we bend it up. We bend it up and play it twice with the pinch harmonics, and then we're going to play 9 on the D and the A. Then we're going to bend it up. We're going to hit the 7th on the D, and then 9, 8, 7, 5 with a bend on the A. Now we're going to slide up to 9 on the A. So that's 9, 10, 9, 10 on the E, and then we're going to go to the 7th fret of the A. Bend it a full step. Slide down to 2 and let it marinate there for a little bit. As it is, turn down your guitar. I turned down mine a couple numbers on the dial. It'll be different for every guitar, obviously. But we're wanting to take off some of the excess distortion. This is the part where it's kind of slow. It's a little, I don't know, sultry sounding, for lack of a better word. So we're taking off a little of the extra distortion or overdrive by turning our guitar down a little bit. We're cleaning it up just a little bit, making it a little bit quieter for that section of the solo or the interlude or the bridge or whatever they call this extra part. So it starts out, as we come out of that last lick of the actual solo, we're going to bend that 5th fret of the A, and then we're going to play it again, but slide up to 9. So that's 9, 10, 9, 10 on the E. Bend the 7 a full step. Reach down, turn down your guitar if you haven't already done that. Slide all the way back up to the 9. Back to the 9. This time we're going to the 8 on the E, but real quiet like. And we let it sit for just a couple beats, and then we're going to do this C power chord here. Kind of stab it. Slide up again. Now we're at the 7th fret of the A, and we've got this E power chord. And we're going to play that, kind of stab it. This time we're going to slide down all the way to the 1st fret, and we're going to form that F power chord again without the bar. Or not a power chord, but a bar chord without the bar, because we're raising our hand. That string 6, 5, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, I'll take it from the start. The next one, so we're playing that E chord, using this E string as my bass note to chug between playing it, and then just the seventh of the D and G, and then back to the E chord. So there, I'm going, everything's the same so far. So that is my index finger on the 8th fret of the E. My middle finger is playing the 9th fret of the A, with my ring finger playing the 10th fret of the A in there. And I'm using the bass note on the E between. Back to the 7th of the A, but this time we're going to do a hammer on and pull off of the 9th. So that time is the same as before, but we don't go to just the 7th, we stay on the E chord. That is the index finger on 8 of the E, middle finger on the 9th of the A, and then the ring finger coming in at the 10th of the A. That takes us into this next part, and as I'm sliding down, I'm also going to turn my guitar back up. We're going to play the E power chord to an F major, F sharp major, G major, G sharp major, A power chord, A sharp, and then we end with the B. It's a little faster. Puts us right back into the main chorus riff, which we go through 5 times, and then that ends the song. I hope that you've enjoyed and benefited in some way from today's lesson. I will ask that you take a second to hit the like and subscribe buttons, which helps to grow the channel. Earlier I mentioned that Panama was one of the very first songs I learned on guitar. For those who may not know, Panama is about a fast car, and in 1984, fast cars, guitars, and rock music were all top priorities of mine. I was a fan of Van Halen well before I started playing guitar, and Eddie's mastery of the instrument is really one of the factors that influenced me to start playing in the first place. Even though Eddie passed into eternity nearly 4 years ago, his contributions to the art of playing will live on for decades. Recently, I saw a cartoon of Eddie and Jimi Hendrix playing guitar together in heaven, and that caused me to ponder their eternal destinations. And that reminded me of a passage in Luke 13 where Jesus tells us that the death of others should cause us to consider our own end. We never know when our last minute on this earth will be, but we can know with certainty where we will be in the eternity that follows our very last minute here. As always, if you have not yet come to a saving faith in Jesus, I would encourage you to seek Him out with all your heart. That should be the top priority for us all. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I do sincerely hope to see you again very soon, right back here on the couch.